You're listening to Better Live Than Dead.
Welcome, everybody, to the BLTD Extracast number 14. Today we are discussing the 2004 NHL Entry Level Redraft. I am Ryan Wolfe, at Wolfe BLTD on Twitter, joined as usual with these redrafts by Brayton Wilson, at BJ Wilson, WGR on Twitter. First off, before we get started, we've been talking about an hour now, so I know how you're doing. I want you to tell the people how you're doing.
Oh, I'm peachy.
We're very happy. I'm going to cut you off and take the feelings train right there, because I know what I'm going to say, and I know you're going to agree, and I'm going to send you off on a mad tangent here. Last month, 2016. Well, that was a garbage pile of a hockey game. The Sabres played fantastic. Robin Lehner continues to play fantastic. But Brad Marchand apparently got hooked by Rasmus Ristolainen when Rasmus Ristolainen did not have a stick. It was more of a holding penalty or like an interference penalty.
It was neither. It was no penalty.
Well, he was hanging on to him. He was tugging on the jersey and dragging him down.
He didn't look like he was tugging on the jersey.
Well,
he looked like he was like pushing against him.
But here's the thing. That can be a penalty, not a penalty shot. They got the penalty shot. They won the game. But earlier in the game, when Jamie McGinn got hauled down while he was. I mean, it was a close call. Probably not a penalty shot, but still, you're not going to call a penalty shot in that. Don't call a penalty shot on Marchand's play. But the rest is history, and the Sabres lost, and everyone's mad about it. So we're just going to get that out at the start, so it doesn't ruin our redraft, because we may get to pick number 15, and Brayton may just start cursing. It did happen earlier in the conversation where we were discussing the Buffalo Sabres potentially drafting Jake Chychrun, I believe, if they get out of the top four, and then Brayton just started cursing about Brad Marchand. So it's a very touchy situation. If we start cursing, we do apologize. We're trying to be like the Sabres. Hashtag family friendly fun.
We'll keep it censored too. If something does manage to slip, we'll come in with a nice 100 kilohertz tone. I believe that's what it is. It's
I think so. Yeah, if I remember. Usually I swear in the podcast, and I always say I'm gonna go back and fix it, and I never do. Usually I remember when it's too late, and then I'm like, oh, you probably should throw the explicit tag up on that one because I said the F word like 15 times. So professional over here. But first off, let's get the rules out of the way. If there are rules, I don't know why I said that. But the 2004 Entry Level Draft, we're going to go through the first 30 picks. We're going to discuss some of them, not all of them. I mean, because some of them don't need explanation. You just say, hey, they picked this guy because they picked that guy. I mean, it's gonna be more or less making fun of like the last draft, 2003, I think it was that we did. There were a lot of very good players in that draft. Where this draft, it gets kind of thin towards the bottom, so we can just poke fun and just enjoy ourselves here. Have some hashtag fun. That's good for our hashtag brand. But let's get started, shall we? With the first overall pick, the Washington Capitals selected Alexander Ovechkin. And Brayton, I'm not sure about you, but I mean, I see your redraft, but I'm not sure about you, but I don't think that Washington would trade this pick for the world. Both of us went Alex Ovechkin. There's really no need for conversation here with this one.
No. I think that it's pretty clear what type of production Ovechkin's put up. He's put up over 500 goals in his illustrious career so far. He's got 938 points. No doubt about this one. I think
808 games. He has 938 points. That's fantastic.
Well, I'm going to kind of tease the next redraft we're going to do. Sidney Crosby just eclipsed the 900-point mark. Yes, to get there. So, but we'll talk about that on another day. But I think
doesn't Crosby have like 900 and like 600 games?
900 and I think it was 671.
I'll tell you what,
I'm
like
not positive.
I get so, and this is, I know we're going to kind of go off here really quick, and I'll probably mention this when we do the 05 redraft, but I get so bummed out when, I mean, I don't, we're Sabres fans at heart. We try to remain professional, try to remain on the fence with everything, but we don't like
677, 902.
Thank you. We don't like the Penguins. We don't like Sidney Crosby, but I'm bummed. Like when Crosby retires in a handful of years, and he'll have 17 or 1800 points. I'll be bummed to see him. We lost a couple hundred games in the prime of Crosby's career because of injury, and that bums me out because he could very well be over 1,000 points right now if he didn't miss a large chunk of games due to concussions and other injuries. He could be at 1,000 points, and he may go down as the greatest player we've ever seen in our time. Between Ovechkin and Crosby, it's going to be very close 1-2. But I think what's up?
Connor McDavid is better.
I think so, but in this current, Ovechkin's the greatest goal scorer. I think Crosby's the best player, and Connor McDavid is going to be better than both of them. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, okay? Capitals select Ovechkin. We both agree. Speaking of the Penguins, a very good segue. We move over with the second overall pick. The Pittsburgh Penguins select Evgeny Malkin. Again, no discussion needed here. Malkin has 751 points in 636 games. No need to think that any other player aside from Alex Ovechkin would have been better for the Penguins with this pick. I mean, that would have been crazy, too, if the Penguins had gotten the first overall pick and ended up with Ovechkin and Crosby. That would have been something. But they get the second best thing with Malkin, and it's really paid off for him, for sure. And it very well could have happened because no 2004-2005 season, and they just decided to lottery off every single pick that year. And for some reason, Pittsburgh won the pick. So, you look at what could have been, but, just imagine Crosby and Ovechkin on a line together. That would be just terrifying. Yeah, that would not be fair. It would probably be one of those things where you would even have, Ovechkin 1, Crosby 2, or vice versa. That's a top line for any franchise, and then you would have that as your top 2 lines. I mean, that would be fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
That would be mega fun.
Moving over to the third overall pick now, with the third pick in the 2004 Entry Level Draft, the Chicago Blackhawks selected, defenseman Cam Barker. You can tell by Brayton's reaction, Cam Barker did not do very well points-wise in his career, and he's no longer in the NHL. But we got to redraft this one, and this one was fun. Personally, I selected center David Krejci. Now, I say that because I'm just going to I have to get my statistics up here. Okay. Where is David Krejci? I probably should have pre-planned this one, but I'm not too SMRT, okay? Damn it. I hit the button and my list inverted. I don't want it inverted, man. Okay, so let's try this again because it did it again. With the third overall pick, I have not the Boston Bruins, what the hell am I talking about? The Chicago Blackhawks selecting David Krejci. Now, Krejci was selected 63rd overall by the Boston Bruins in real life, but at this point in time, as of recording time, Krejci has 448 points in 593 games. That's 129 goals, 319 assists. A fantastic hockey player all around. I really think that the Blackhawks would have benefited in their rebuild with a guy like Krejci down the middle. Clearly, it would have changed a lot of things if they had David Krejci over Cam Barker, but that's the fun part about doing these things is you get to look back. And I think, like I said, David Krejci would have been best for the Blackhawks at 3.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with Pekka Rinne at number 3 because, Pekka Rinne hasn't had really that great of a season this year. However, Rinne, well, he's put up some really, really decent career stats in the NHL. Where is his career stats? I just lost his career stats, but I will look for them. But Pekka
I can get him right here. I got him right here for you. Pekka Rinne. 425 games. He is 224, 132, and 50 with a .918 save percentage and 2.37 goals allowed per game.
That's not bad. That's pretty good. I think he was clearly the best goalie that really came out of this class.
And absolutely.
He was taken after. Here's a name that may remind people of someone. Derek McIntyre. or not Derek McIntyre. Never mind. I got McIntyre's mixed up. I was thinking Drew McIntyre. But here's a name that came up. Yutaka Fuji. He made his NHL debut. He's the first Japanese player to ever play in the NHL. He started a few games for the LA Kings, and he was taken before Pekka Rinne, and Nashville got a steal out of Pekka Rinne with the very last pick in the 8th round. Good career stats. I mean, maybe the next best goalie in this class is, I don't know, Devin Dubnyk, maybe Corey Schneider. I'd think probably Corey Schneider, but yeah, no, a steal for the Predators in nearly the 9th round, and he's put up some really good stats.
Moving on to the Carolina Hurricanes now, with the 4th overall pick. The Carolina Hurricanes selected left winger Andrew Ladd. Not a bad pick at all, but it could have been better. Now, I went with, just because you finished talking about him, I went with goaltender Pekka Rinne, for obvious reasons. I mean, fantastic goaltender, like you said. I don't need to reiterate that. But you went with David Krejci, center. Yep,
and as you had just previously mentioned, I don't think we need to explain this much more. He's put up some really good stats throughout his early career, and David Krejci was even a later round pick too. I am completely blowing this right now because David Krejci was he wasn't too late. He was. I take that back. 2nd round, 63rd overall. So he's put up some really good stats throughout his career so far, as you mentioned before. 129 goals, 448 points in 593 games.
Now, the next 2 picks are opposite of each other, so I'm just going to do them both at once. With the 5th overall pick in the 2004 Entry Level Draft, the Phoenix Coyotes select right winger Blake Wheeler. And with the 6th overall pick, the New York Rangers select goaltender Al Montoya. Now, with the 5th overall pick, you said Corey Schneider, and then with the 6th overall pick, you said Blake Wheeler. With the 5th overall pick, I said Blake Wheeler, and then with the 6th overall pick, I said Corey Schneider. So we're kind of on the same page with this one. But why did you make your selections the way you did?
Well, I think Corey Schneider, as I just mentioned, is probably the next best goalie in this class. He didn't really get the chance to start more games over Pekka Rinne that he has so far, so that's why I kind of have him lower than Rinne is right now. But I think if we did this redraft again, probably 5 years down the road, Corey Schneider could easily go over Pekka Rinne. But, I think that Schneider, in the time that he has put up in the league right now, has been very good. Looking back at his stats, I am just completely dropping the ball here. I thought I came in prepared, and I am not. So anybody listening, I apologize, but here we go. I'm bringing it up. HockeyReference.com, one of the better sites for all this stuff.
That's where I'm at.
He's got a .926 save percentage, 2.14 goals against in 256 career games. Yeah, so better stats than Rinne, but he has a much smaller sample size than Rinne has had in his career. So I give the edge to Rinne in that aspect, but Corey Schneider, I guarantee you in a few years he'll probably be better than Pekka Rinne.
I'm very, I've gotten very high on Corey Schneider. I mean, I'm not too much because he plays for the Devils and they're very boring to watch play hockey, but he's carved out a nice little career for himself after the whole debacle in Vancouver, I guess, if that's the best way to put it. So I certainly think that the Rangers would have benefited picking Corey Schneider. With Blake Wheeler, I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, it's in this draft, you make a good pick, don't change it, because Blake Wheeler has 411 points in 585 games, and that would be something that the Coyotes could have certainly used. I mean, he plays in Winnipeg now, and Winnipeg is certainly reaping the benefits of a decent hockey player in Blake Wheeler. But I certainly feel that Coyotes would have been best off just sticking with Blake Wheeler at number 5. Now we come on to the fun names, because I'm really bad at pronouncing names, so we're just going to have a blast with this one. Number 7, the Florida Panthers with the 7th overall pick select Rostislav Olez. Now, you wonder who that is. That is a great, fantastic question. In his, my screen is not cooperating. In his professional hockey career, stop doing that, computer. Thank you. Olez, I think it's how you pronounce his name. Olez played 365 games, 134 points, but not good enough for the 7th overall pick. I have Andrew Ladd falling from 4 in real life to 7 in fake life, and then you have Mike Green, defenseman, moving up very high to be drafted by the Florida Panthers. Are you there? I think I lost Brayton, guys. Well, hey, that's okay. I'll talk more about this until I get cut off and get rickrolled. With Andrew Ladd going to the Florida Panthers, it's one of those things where I felt like Andrew Ladd just needs Florida needs a player like Andrew Ladd, which is funny that I mention it that way because, well, currently in real life, Andrew Ladd plays for the Winnipeg Jets. He's on an expiring contract, and the Florida Panthers are apparently hot on the trail of Andrew Ladd. So this works out perfectly. It's like my own personal narrative gets written at this point in time with Andrew Ladd being the 7th overall pick. Now, it would be fantastic if Andrew Ladd ended up in Florida just for hockey because, you know, the Panthers are doing pretty damn good this year. But looking in the grand scheme of things with Andrew Ladd, he was drafted 4th overall by the Hurricanes. He has 450 points in 743 games. He's currently the captain of the Winnipeg Jets. A very he can be a very polarizing figure, as we saw with the Evander Kane stuff. But hold on a second. Hi.
Hey.
Okay, we got you back.
Yeah.
Okay, now that Brayton is back, I was just talking about Andrew Ladd to the Panthers at 7 overall. What I was saying is that Andrew Ladd, it kind of works out for my own personal narrative because before the podcast started, we discussed Andrew Ladd to the Panthers, and it's a possibility. I mean, it would be cool to see a guy like Ladd go to Florida and help them out, but I mean, he's a very polarizing figure, as we saw with the Evander Kane situation, where he essentially turned his back against Kane, and so he's going to be a very strong locker room presence. He can lead a group of guys, and that might be what a young group like Florida needs right now and what they've needed for years. So I'm high on the thought process of Andrew Ladd being drafted by the Florida Panthers, but you selected Mike Green. Tell me more.
Oh, I mean, I think Mike Green, I think it's more of where Mike Green had a more electric start to his career in the beginning when he was with Washington. I mean, his career in Washington was very good when, you know, he was firing on all cylinders with Alex Ovechkin, Nick Backstrom, and then, you know, things started to tail off a little bit. Now he's in Detroit, where he's not putting up remarkable numbers this year. 21 points in 46 games. But, I mean, Mike Green has had a pretty significant career as of right now. I mean, he's got 381 points in 621 games for a defenseman. That's pretty significant, if you ask me. So, you know, I think that, and not only that, but, I mean, Mike Green has been very good on the power play in his career. 55 goals on the power play. So, you know, I think that Mike Green has, you know, lately he's tailed off in his career. However, I think that he's still one of the best defensemen out of this class for sure.
Yeah, I think Mike Green is one of the better players in this draft, and I have him going in a couple picks. But I think with Mike Green, the one thing that's been disappointing is how injuries have sapped his potential. Because when healthy, he's a fantastic hockey player, but he's been dogged by some pretty nasty injuries. So I like the high pick. Like I said, he's going in a couple picks for me. But we'll see here. We'll see what happens the next couple picks. With the 8th overall pick, the Columbus Blue Jackets selected Alexandre Picard. I believe that's how you say it. And by the way,
Who knows? Because he never really had a career.
Yeah. Well, with Rostislav Olez, I believe is how you pronounce his name, with the 7th overall pick, but you dipped out, unfortunately. So I wanted to just throw that out there. Columbus Blue Jackets, I have Mark Straight, defenseman, going. You have Andrew Ladd, left winger, going. Now with me, let me get this popped back up here. This website is so much fun. I love this website. Let's see. Probably should have went by... I probably should have went by position, because I'm trying to find a needle on a goddamn haystack with that one.
I got Mark Strike.
He was selected 262nd overall, 395 points in 685 games. Not a bad pick, I think, for the Blue Jackets, with a team that is badly battered on the D as they have been for years. A guy like Mark Straight really would have anchored that top four for them for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and I mean, it's amazing that he's 48 or 38 years old. My God, I did not realize how old he actually was, because he took a while to come into the NHL. But the 38-year-old Swiss has put up some really, really good numbers throughout his career. 395 points in 685 games, split between Montreal, the Islanders, and the Flyers. I mean, his career year came when he was with Montreal. He had 62 points in 81 games. He's played an entire season, or close to an entire season, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times now. So, I mean, yeah, he's had some stints of where he's been banged up, or it seems like he's been banged up. He's been able to stay relatively healthy, and it shows, because he's a very good offensive style defenseman. He's been very good. I mean, just last year he put up 52 points in 81 games with the Flyers at age 37. So Mark Streit, he might still have a few games or a few years left in him. He's a very versatile offensive defenseman, and yeah, that's where I know you have him pegged. I got him a little bit more down, but
you have Andrew Ladd for the Blue Jackets at number 8.
Yeah. Yep, no doubt about this one. Ladd's one of the top scorers from this draft class here. He's the third scorer overall, 450 points, 743 games played, and he's a leader. He's a guy that's very hard to get the puck off of. I like Andrew Ladd, and again, maybe in a few years. I mean, and not only that, but Andrew Ladd's won 2 Stanley Cups now? One with Carolina, one with Chicago.
Yeah. Yes.
And who knows? He might win another one. He might win another 2, because I don't think Andrew Ladd's going to retire anytime soon. At least to my knowledge, I don't think he's going to retire anytime soon. So, yeah, Andrew Ladd, 30 years old, should be one fun player to watch going down the road here towards the later stage of his career.
With the 9th overall pick, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim selected defenseman Ladislav Schmid. I have Mike Green going here for previous things that we discussed. Makes sense. They selected defenseman. I selected defenseman. You have Johan Franzen going here.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that Franzen has lately been stung with concussions, because he's one heck of he's a big body in front of the net. He is, I mean, 6'4", 232 pounds, and you just put him right in front of the net. I mean, the Red Wings had Tomas Holmstrom to play in front of the net for years, but I mean, Johan Franzen, he's a bull. I mean, you put him in front of the net, you can't get him out of front of the net. And again, it's unfortunate, because he's been hit by a huge string of injuries lately. I mean, the most games he's ever played in a season was in his rookie year with 80. So while he's banged up, he's put up good numbers, and he's been so versatile on the power play in front of the net. I mean, you can put him anywhere on the ice, and as long as he gets to the net, I mean, it's just incredible at the way that Franzen has played over his career. Yeah, he's 36 years old now, and he's got concussions and everything going wrong for him, and he's probably never going to play again. But I mean, to put up 370 points in 602 games. That's really good for a guy that has been ravaged with injuries all throughout his career.
Absolutely. And it's the way it's working out is perfect for me because I don't have to do much explaining because it seems to be the guy you pick as the next guy I pick. And we have that happening again. But first off, with the 10th overall pick, the Atlanta Thrashers select defenseman Boris Volobik. I believe is how you pronounce his name. I put Johan Franzen here. Johan Franzen, whatever the hell you want to say. Johan Dubinsky going to the Thrashers at 10.
Yeah. Brandon Dubinsky is another one of those bigger bodied guys that's just very, very hard to play against. I think that he's 6'2", 216. He's got a physical game he's got a physical side to his game where he's not afraid to drop the gloves. He's not afraid to throw the body around, but yet he can put up the points. He can be an offensive contributor, and it showed over the past few years. I mean, back in 2010, 2011, he put up a career year in New York with 54 points, but he's had a couple of decent years in Columbus. However, he's been, again, injured. He hasn't had a healthy season since 2009. But still 592 career games and 349 points. It's very respectable. And for a guy that puts himself under that much stress, physical stress, playing with the Rangers, it's pretty impressive to see how well of a guy that Dubinsky's been over the span of his career with New York and Columbus.
Excuse me. I had to cough like right as you stopped talking. You make very good points about Dubinsky. I have Dubinsky going way later. I don't know why, but I have him going way later in the first round, but we'll get to that. With the 11th overall pick, Lauri Tukkonen.
Tukkonen? I don't know.
Tukkonen? Yeah, I'm not sure. I have Travis Zajac going.
Hashtag bust is Tukkonen, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Travis Zajac, I'm going to get him popped up on my screen here. 373 points in 670 games. He seems like he's been just Mr. Consistency for the New Jersey Devils over the span of his career. Then again, like we talked about, the Devils are boring, so they don't do much fun stuff, but he always seems to be there for the Devils. And I feel like, if maybe Zajac ended up with the Kings, maybe things would have worked out better for the Kings quicker. But Zajac seems like the type of player that would fit the Kings well. And that's why I have him going 11. Very simple explanation. But you have Hilton, New York's own Ryan Callahan going at 11.
Yes, sir, I do. Callahan, of course, was for the longest time the captain of the New York Rangers, and he's probably going to be a guy that might be the captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning if Steven Stamkos decides to leave town and sign elsewhere. But Ryan Callahan, like many of the other people, have had a respectable career so far. 597 games, 334 points, including literally splitting it, 167 for goals and assists. Callahan's been a guy that's been very reliable. Again, he's looked at as a leader. But again, like many of the other players that are in this class, the one thing that I'm realizing about with this redraft, with like the middle part towards the back end, is that there's some guys that have been injured or just haven't played all that much just because they're either hurt or they're just guys that struggled early on in their career. But Ryan Callahan was the type of player that while maybe he struggled early on, he came alive in 2008, 2009, played 81 games and had 40 points, and only got better from there. He's had 2 years where he's had 54 career points in 54 points in a season. And he's just a very reliable player. He's a leader. He's a guy that you can rely on him getting the puck and taking it straight to the net. You can even put him in front of the net, even though he's not that big, 5'10", 186, but still, I would definitely rely on a guy like Ryan Callahan to do the dirty work and get the job done.
He's definitely, if I was, I'm biased because I'm from the area and I've heard all about him throughout his whole career. But, if I had a team years ago, I would want him on my team. Right now he's making a ton of cash. So I'm not too sure, but I was a proponent of him coming to Buffalo when the Sabres when he was a free agent. I mean, if Buffalo was better, maybe Ryan Callahan's a Buffalo Sabre right now. But sorry, I'm trying to not cough into the microphone over here. I'm with the 12th overall pick. We'll talk about Callahan more in a minute. But with the 12th overall pick, Minnesota Wild selected AJ Thielen. Bust.
Yeah, big bust.
Because he didn't play a game in the National Hockey League ever. You have Travis Zajac. We discussed Travis Zajac as you can. But I selected Drew Stafford because, I mean, we know, I don't need to talk about Drew Stafford too much. We know Drew Stafford. Drew Stafford's okay. He's a reliable enough hockey player. And in this draft, I mean, he is good enough to get drafted by the Wild at 12. He was originally drafted 13th overall by the Sabres, which we'll discuss in just a moment. But Drew Stafford is not a bad hockey player. I mean, it's just you have to be able to have adequate talent around him that you can ride the ebb and flow of Stafford's hot and cold streaks. I mean, if you're relying on Drew Stafford like the Buffalo Sabres were for the longest time, you're going to have a bad time. But if you have Stafford as a secondary scorer, and when he's not hot, someone else can be hot, you'll be fine. Like with the Jets right now, he's the ebb and the ride, the ebb and the flow. I mean, they're not great. They're not having a great time out in Winnipeg right now. But Drew Stafford's not playing bad out in Winnipeg right now. But I would think the Wild would probably want a guy like Drew Stafford if they could redo this draft.
Yeah, and Drew Stafford has put up significantly good numbers with Winnipeg this year. I want to say he's one of their top goal scorers, just goal scorers, not point producers, but literally goal scorers. I want to bring up his stats with Winnipeg compared to everybody else, and my computer is just not having it with me right now. So there we go, getting here. But I mean, yeah, he scored again last night. He had another goal. He had a 3-point night to be exact. But
isn't he on a 1-year deal as well?
Huh?
He on a 1-year deal as well.
I think he's signed to a multi-year deal. But he actually leads the Jets in goal scoring. 16 goals on the year. Looking up his contract right now. Drew Stafford is currently on a 2-year deal. So he's got one more year after this one.
Yeah, good for him to bet on himself. I mean, if he signed a 1-year deal, he probably would get a bigger contract. But do it again next year, and you might be able to get yourself a nice little deal out of it. But anything you wanted to add about Travis Zajac to the Wild?
No, I think you brought it up, and you put him pretty much hit the nail on the head. 373 points, 670 games. He's had a little bit of a revitalization in his game lately under Eric Hines. Because for the past 2 or 3 years, he's really dipped off. And I think that that's had an effect on his game. However, he's starting to make the rebound.
That's all that matters. Moving on, Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres. They drafted Drew Stafford, right wing, with a 13th overall pick in the draft. You have Mark Straight going to them. I have Ryan Callahan going to them. I went kind of the local type. Plus, I mean, Ryan Callahan would have been pretty dope to have in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Is there any specific reason, aside from the lack of defense, that you picked Mark Straight?
I think he was just the best player available.
That's fair. Now we're gonna kind of power through this next chunk of teams because it looks like, the next 1, 2, 3, 4, the next 5 teams, they're not all the same, but they're
close.
Pretty close, yeah. With the 14th overall pick, the Edmonton Oilers selected Devin Dubnyk, goaltender. Both Brayton and I selected defenseman Alexander Edler. And what we'll do is I'll go through the list, and if you want to go back and touch on a few guys, you can. The 15th overall pick, the Nashville Predators selected right wing Alexander Radulov. I selected Devin Dubnyk. You selected Mikhail Grabovski. With the 16th overall pick, Petteri Nokalainen.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great name. He was selected by the Islanders. I picked Mikhail Grabovski. You put Devin Dubnyk with the Islanders. 17th overall pick, Marek Schwartz, goaltender, was picked by the Blues, and we both picked Alex Goligoski. With the 18th overall pick, the Montreal Canadiens selected Kyle Chipchura. and we both selected Troy Brouwer, right winger.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're up to pick 19. But yeah, that was a nice little stretch of teams right there where we both agreed on the same guy.
Yeah. Now it gets a little bit. Now it gets a little bit crazy, I guess. Not too much, but
not too bad at all. 19th overall pick, Laurie Korpikoski. I feel like I'm chewing on my tongue over here.
you got it, Korpikoski.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a Buffalo Sabres special here. I selected Drew Stafford. Now we know Drew Stafford. I mean, Stafford with the Rangers at that spot would have been a steal. Would have been fantastic for them to have. Sekera has been a developing, getting better and better and better as time.
In my eyes.
I know, me too. But I'm trying to be right here. It's Sekera, but Sekera. Trying to be nice to the guy. I think the Rangers could have benefited with a guy like Sekera. It took him some time to develop, but once he started to develop into his potential, he's been a pretty damn good hockey player. I mean, he's no scrub. He got a big deal with the Edmonton Oilers. He's not having a bad time out there, being part of the rebuild. He had some success in Carolina with the Hurricanes, and I mean it seems like he's developed into a pretty good defender.
Yeah, and I mean, with Buffalo, he had his struggles, and lately with Edmonton, he seems like he's coming alive in his game again. He put up, of course, his career year with Carolina, and then he got traded to LA, and then he was a complete no-show for the Kings last year when they were trying to make the playoff.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, and then this year he's put up 6 goals, 13 assists in 52 games, which is not bad for an Oilers team that has really, I think, underperformed this year for, the team that they've been for the past 3 or 4 years, a young talent. But, Edmonton's still sort of a rebuilding team under Peter Chiarelli, especially. But
they're like a tire fire right now, man.
Yeah, I think in a couple of years, Sekera will be a very nice addition for the Oilers once he further develops in the system. I think he'll be just fine.
I think so as well. I hope so. For him at least. I mean, I don't know where I was going with that one. The Oilers are bad at hockey. Anyways, pick number 20, Travis Zajac. We talked about him before. Chris Versteeg. Both of us have selected Chris Versteeg with the 20th overall pick of the New Jersey Devils. I went with Versteeg because he is a fantastic leader, and he has 306 points in 525 games. But like I said, points aside, because I'm not really, I don't really care about the points with this pick. The fact that Chris Versteeg is a fantastic leader is why I selected him with this pick.
And he's won a couple of Stanley Cups, and I think that's probably why I put him here. Besides his production, he's a Stanley Cup winner.
Absolutely, that's exactly why I went for it, because it's one of those things where he's a fantastic. I mean, fantastic. The Chris Versteeg is the guy. If you want to try to win a Stanley Cup, he's the guy you want on your team. Same with Andrew Ladd. If you want to win a cup, that's why, like we said before, Florida's hot on the trail of Andrew Ladd, because they want to win a cup. Get a guy like Andrew Ladd. There are certain hockey players out there that if you put them on your team, they may not make a huge difference on the ice, but the fact of them just being around makes your team that much better. I feel like Versteeg is one of those guys, one of those cliche leaders, hockey guys that his presence can make the kids feel more comfortable and the veterans feel more comfortable and make everyone just gel a little better and kind of be that glue that holds the whole team together throughout the hellacious playoffs.
Yeah, no, he's as we've seen with Chicago. I mean, he was part of the team when they won their first Stanley Cup. Then he was, I think, traded, and then Chicago reacquired him for this past year's Stanley Cup, and he was basically the same type of player. He's a depth winger who, if you need to put him out there on the second power play unit, he can do that because he's more of an offensive style player, but he's definitely a guy that is very good in the locker room. And I think that, makes him a very valuable guy. And I think if he were to go 20, that would have been a steal for the Devils.
Absolutely. It would be weird to see Chris Versteeg on the Devils, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Moving over to pick 21. I love this guy's name. The Colorado Avalanche selected Wojciech Wolski.
Poland.
Left winger. I put Devin Dubnyk in Colorado. You put Ladislav Schmid in Colorado. Tell me more.
Yes, I did. Smead's just, he's a very good defensive style defenseman. I'm not even going to say what his stats are because really he hasn't put up anything significant in his 578 games. However, he's very solid defensively. When he's healthy, he's a physical force to play against. And again, just as long as he stays healthy, he's fine. But that's why I would take him there, is just because he's so physically solid when he is not banged up.
Now moving over, I selected Dubnyk. It's self-explanatory. He's one of the best goaltenders in this class. I'm going to try to get the stats popped up over here. Steven Dubnyk. Okay, so in 273 games, he's 115, 109, 31, 914 save percentage, 264 goals allowed per game. Probably helps if I click on the right name here. I'm not going to be able to do that. But he's had kind of a revitalization with the Minnesota Wild the past season and a half, which has really saved his backside.
Yes.
And he wasn't bad. He wasn't bad before. Just when you play for bad teams, your stats are going to be bad. But he's really helped. He's really helped kind of keep the Minnesota Wild team together because they are weird and they have a lot of talent, but they're just not able to get over that hump. I'm not sure if it's the coaching. I'm not sure if it's the players, but something's not right there. And we'll get it figured out. But I feel like Devin Dubnyk is the answer for the Wild in goal. But I certainly think that if Colorado ended up with Devin Dubnyk, they would have been a lot better of a franchise quicker because he's not a bad goaltender at all.
Yeah. Well, they have Semyon Varlamov now, and that's a pretty good.
He's a pile of human garbage.
Oh, yeah.
I'm back to I got my stats back up. Now, San Jose Sharks, we both went D. They went Lucas Kasper, whoever that is. I went Andres Mazzaros. You went Andrei Sekera. We talked about Sekera. Now with Mazzaros, I honestly just went kind of best player available. I thought that, I know. With the next pick I have, you'll probably say, well, that guy's better than Mazzaros. But I just feel like Mazzaros would have been good in San Jose. It just seemed, the pick seemed right to me.
Yeah, and this point, I did go best player with Andrei Sekera.
That's fair. Moving on to 23 now. Andrei Mazzaros was selected by the Ottawa Senators. I picked Brandon Dubinsky. Big fall for me, but Dubinsky should have went higher. I'm just dumb and did my draft wrong. But you went Jannik Hansen.
Yeah, Jannik Hansen has what's the best way to describe his game? He's very, very under the radar, in my opinion. He's from Denmark. He's 29 years old at this point. He spent his entire career in Vancouver, but I mean, he's been pretty good for Vancouver over the span of his career. This year, he could easily break his career mark for goals in a season. He's got 15 in 48 games, and his career mark is set twice with 16. He's a good skater. He's very fast, and he's maintained, a relatively healthy career so far. So I think that he's very under the radar. He's a guy that he can put the puck in the net, but he doesn't put it in the net as much as he probably should. But he's sort of turning around his career right now, just molding his career into what he really is expected to be in Vancouver. And he's a very good third line, second line winger for the Canucks right now.
Yeah, I like Hansen. He's a very, very solid hockey player. Like you said, under the radar. I think that if he was not playing for the Canucks, he probably would be a little more popular. Because as we know, there's a media bias against Canada. But I think Hansen is a strong pick here at 23 for the Senators.
Absolutely.
With the 24th overall pick, Calgary Flames select Chris Chucko. I think is how you pronounce that. We both selected Carl Soderberg.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure what to say more about this. I know Soderberg is Soderberg, however the fuck you want to say it.
Yeah. Yep. Soderberg.
He took him a couple years, but he's had a very good kind of turnaround as once he got to the National Hockey League. I mean, 132 points in 216 games, been very solid. Plays for Colorado now. He was decent in Boston. I mean that was he came through. I can't remember when he showed up, but if I'm not let me look at my stats here real fast. That's what I thought. He showed up when they needed a guy in the play. He came in the playoffs and played very well.
Yeah, 2013-14, he was stellar.
Yeah, sorry. I'm like
really
as I'm talking, I'm reading as I'm talking, and it makes me sound like an idiot. But yeah, he's under a big contract right now with the Colorado Avalanche, and they're pretty happy to have him.
Yeah. And with Soderberg, he's a very good centerman. He's good on faceoffs, 6'3", 216, so he's got the size in order to win a faceoff. Again, it did take him a little while to come over here. He spent some time in Sweden to perfect his game. Didn't sign with the Blues, who drafted him in the second round, but goes to Boston, has a good career, and now with Colorado, 55 games so far, he's got 38 points. So he could be on pace to break his career year set just 2 years ago.
Not a bad pick. Bad pick to pick up Carl Soderberg. I mean, he may not end up having a stellar career in terms of stats wise, but it's one of those guys where you look back and you wonder, hey, if he'd come over when he was drafted, wonder what his career could have been. Yeah. With the 25th overall pick, and actually I'm going to run through the next. I'm probably just going to run through the rest of the picks here because they're all just meh. 25th overall pick, the Edmonton Oilers select Rob Schremp. I picked Brian Bickle. He seems like the type of player that Edmonton would want. You selected Blake Como. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah, Blake Como. He's a gritty left winger who can put the puck in the net and play a physically tough game.
26th overall pick, Vancouver Canucks select Corey Schneider. I put Blake Como. You put Alexei Emelin. Not bad either way, I don't think.
No, absolutely not.
27th overall pick, Washington Capitals select defenseman Jeff Schultz. We both select Dave Boland.
Yep.
I feel like at this point in time, the reason I made this pick, I'm not sure about you, Brayton, but I selected Boland because with the Capitals as good as they are right now, a guy like Dave Boland would be fantastic for their third or fourth line to be that leader, to be that solid presence on the bottom six. What he's doing in Florida right now, he would be doing in Washington, and that's why I picked him here.
Yeah, not only that, but he's won a Stanley Cup or two in his career.
This seems to be a pretty successful leader, like a class of leaders. There's a lot of leaders in this draft. With the 20th overall pick, the Dallas Stars selected Mark Fistrick. I put Torrey Mitchell in Dallas. You put Brian Bickle. I just kind of selected best player available and put him there.
Yeah, I think that was where I was going with this too.
29th overall pick, Washington Capitals, looking back, stole Mike Green at 29, but I put Tyler Kennedy and you put Brandon Prust. But both seem, again, bottom six guy, can really change the pace of a game if they need to, but nothing crazy to write home about, you know?
No, absolutely not.
With the 30th and final overall pick in the first round, Andy Rogers was selected by the Tampa Bay Lightning. You put Lori Korpakowski, as I'm chewing on my Scrabble words over here, Korpakowski, and I selected Brandon Prust. Again, bottom six, like I said with Prust a second ago, Korpakowski is the same way. Bottom six guy. Guys like this that you need on your team to be successful, but nonetheless a bottom six guy. That's to make this like about the Sabres real quick, because it always has to be about the Buffalo Sabres. That's what the Buffalo Sabres need to do coming up, is find those bottom six guys that can be like Dave Boland, like Brian Bickle, maybe like a Brandon Prust, although Prust just goes out and punch faces. But I digress. But that's what the Sabres have to do right now. That's why, in my opinion, we're going to make this about the Sabres for a second. That's why they're not good yet. They have the top 6. They need to figure out the bottom 6.
Well, wait until we get to the next redraft, which hopefully we'll do very soon. But
that's a teaser right there for you people in the business.
Yeah, it's a name that sounds very familiar to a lot of people that are just like, oh my god, why did we take him again?
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
I think you should. I would think you would know, but
there were some picks that like Darcy nailed a lot of picks. But there are some picks that if he had made a smarter decision or taken less of a risk, the Buffalo Sabres in hindsight would have been a lot better, a lot quicker, and a lot longer.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I mean, at the time, obviously, you're going to look at a draft and be like, okay, well, I think this is the best player available. But looking down the road, it's like, or looking back, you look at that and think, what were they thinking? What were they seeing in this guy?
That's the one thing that gets me so excited about seeing Tim Murray around. Is I was talking to a coworker, and I had said, it's funny when the Kings wanted Matt Moulson, Tim Murray said it starts with Tyler Toffoli and nobody else. And look at Tyler Toffoli now. When there were talks of Tyler Myers being traded to the Red Wings, Tim Murray said it's Dylan Larkin, and that's where we're starting, and that's where it ends. Like, you're going to start with Dylan Larkin, or we're not going to talk. And look what Dylan Larkin's doing now. Like, could you imagine if Tim Murray pulled off both those trades and got Toffoli and Larkin?
The Sabres would be a playoff team right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I see, like back when Regier was in office, and you would be like, oh, that's the rumored trade, and that guy is not really good. But you see, like, the guys that Tim Murray's going after, he has, I don't know if it's just because it's so easy to spot these guys that they're talented, but the fact that he's like, you know what, I want those guys, the fact that he can spot that talent, that means something to me. That gets me all excited,
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. I just think that Murray evaluates his talent much better than some of the other people that are in this league. I think that he's shown it with what you just said. He's like, I want this guy, and yeah, they're playing really well right now, and it's not a bad thing to try and make take a swing at these guys. It's not bad at all.
Not at all. I mean, he goofed up Matt Moulson, but you know what? He got something good for Tyler Myers, so I guess that works itself out.
Absolutely.
We'll have to talk about that at a different time, though, with Matt Moulson. How much longer is he going to be a Buffalo Sabre? But I digress. We don't have enough time in the day for that one right now.
No.
But this has been BLTD Extracast number 14, the 2004 NHL Entry Level Redraft. We will join you sometime very soon for the 2005 redraft. I am Ryan Wolfe at Wolfe BLTD on Twitter.
And I am Brayton J. Wilson at BJ Wilson WGR.
I was figuring you'd pick up on that. I was like, I'll say bye for myself. Maybe Brayton will say bye for himself. If not, I would have said it for you. But either way, we are better live than dead. Thank you for joining us today. Check out BLTDsports.com for this redraft and obviously more things hockey, more things football, more things Sprots. Thank you again for joining in, friends, and we will talk to you sometime very soon.